Hello and welcome to the next Lukozer PC game review video. And for this one, it's a game that is, by my standards, pretty fucking bang up to date. So this is F1 2017, or Formula 1 2017 if you like. This was released by Codemasters in, believe it or not, 2017. So that makes this only the second game that was published this year that I've reviewed. The first game was a game for the Commodore 64. Now you've already, well, I'm assuming anyway that you already know I've done a couple of videos of me, well, trying to play this. I freely admit I am not particularly good at this game, and I use the old Xbox 360 controller. I don't use a wheel for two reasons. Firstly, there's no room on my computer desk here to set one up, and secondly, I have no fucking intention of spending some 200 fucking quid for a controller that I will use to play just one gaming genre. Fuck that. Now, I do like my racing games, but I do not like them enough to, you know, spend 200 quid on a fucking controller. So any of you who are watching this who are then going to say, he's only complaining about these parts of the game because he hasn't got the right controller. Well, I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to spend 200 quid on a fucking controller on the off chance that it might improve the review that I'm about to give. Now that gives you a bit of an indication as to the direction that this game is going. Some of you who've seen my previous videos of me playing this would probably make the assumption that I'm going to give this a glowing review and everything about it is fantastic. Well, no. Is it a good game? Yes, it is. And it's quite enjoyable to play. Is it great, fantastic, superb, magnificent, whatever other superlative you want to use? No. It doesn't come close to being any of those things. It's good, but that's as far as it goes. The really annoying thing is that while it is good, but it's far from an essential purchase. If Codemasters actually bothered to patch and deal with most of the issues that I have with this game, it could be fucking great. It could be so good that it would be a must-have title for anyone who is interested in racing games. Unfortunately, Codemasters' reputation as far as updating this game means it's very unlikely that that is going to happen. It's already been patched up quite a bit. We're on to version 1.7. Now, I haven't heard anything about patch 1.8 to the extent where I don't even know if there is going to be a patch 1.8. If there is, will it address all of these issues that I will be bringing up? I highly doubt it. But, well, if it addresses enough of them, I may come back to this game and, you know, we'll take a look. Now what I'll do to start with is show you the career mode, the hub, so you get an idea of how in depth the game is. So we'll start in the career. So this is where I am. Now as you can see, I am leading the World Championship despite the fact that I'm in a McLaren Honda. This is only my first season. You can actually, your career can last 10 seasons. So yeah, I'm on the first season. So I'm running a 2017 spec McLaren Honda, which we all know is absolute shite, and yet I'm leading the Drivers' Championship by 83 points. So what I've done is clearly not set the AI high enough. That's because I forgot to do it, and I don't know how to change it during a season. I'm sure it can be done, but I don't know how to. More to the point, I'm really not that fussed about finding out. So anyway, let's continue the career. Now I'll also have to point out that there are going to be several edits throughout this video, because this is a game that is owned by, well, yeah, the license is owned by Formula One International, and they are up there with Disney as far as, you know, they are constantly looking on YouTube and will block any video that shows any content that they hold even the most tenuous of copyright claims on. So there are going to be edits throughout the video. I don't want to do them, but I have to, so, you know. So anyway, once you start up the career, then you check your laptop, and here you can find out pretty much everything about the state of your career and the car that you're using and shit like that. So this first page shows you, well, you can quite clearly see what it shows you. So we are now in Sepang, which is the Malaysian Grand Prix. Then we have the weather forecast, mixed conditions on track. Well, there's a fucking shock. Believe me, I'll be talking about the weather simulation of this game probably in more depth than I would like, but it's unavoidable. And then there's my tyre update. Now, at the start of the season, I selected to use balanced tyres, or balanced tyre selection. So I've got 2 of the medium compounds, 5 of the softs, and 6 of the super softs. I want to change that, but again, I can't see how I can. I cannot find the option that will let me change it. So I'm always using the balanced tyre options at every fucking race, even though I want to change it. So into the next part, you can see there is the rivalry. Throughout the seasons, rather, you have the rivalry, and it will pick a particular driver. It'll always start with your teammate. If you beat him, then it will pick another driver who's close to your sort of like abilities, and beat him, it picks another driver, and so on and so on. So you've always got a rivalry going on. As you can see, you have to get to 30 points to win the rivalry. I am on 27, and old Valtteri Bottas there is on 14. You get points for, you know, if you finish higher up in the grid and qualifying, if you set a faster lap, if you if you get a podium finish, you get an extra point, and then, you know, whoever finishes higher in the race, and so on. You know, it's all pretty self-explanatory. And then next to that, it's just the standard window showing, you know, information about well, me. So yes, I'm in a McLaren Honda. It shows my crash helmet design. It shows the grotesque image of what's supposed to be me. Then it has, amazingly, my name. Yes, I know it shows the South African flag. I chose that because why not? Then the abbreviated name, which I made PTN, so Putin. Bit like if you're from New Zealand saying my name. Current rival. Resource points, that is important. I'll be coming to that actually in just a second. Career score, I couldn't give a monkey's toss about career score. Season objective, which is to finish 17th in the championship. Well, I'm currently leading it, so yeah, I'm well ahead there. Then team approval, I've been promoted to the first driver. Obviously when you start, you are the second driver. And then the bar there, that shows like well, it's basically a bar showing their approval, and because I'm exceeding their expectations, and I have done since the first race, I'm now, well, as far along it as it will let me go. It starts off in the middle, so yeah, it will go down if you keep fucking up, but more often than not, especially with the settings I've got, to say, it will yeah, just keep going up and up and up. Right, so next is the research and development. This is when you are upgrading your car throughout the season. Now this is where the resource points comes in. So it shows I have 300. So if you look at the R&D tree, these are all the upgrades that are available to you. Plenty of them. So you can upgrade the... Formula 1 insists on calling it the powertrain, but it is the engine. Then you can upgrade the durability, the chassis, and the aerodynamics. Now, because I'm in the McLaren Honda, which has by far the worst engine in Formula 1, I've focused on the engine and the durability. So the engine upgrades I've fitted, first of all, I've done 2 of these, which will reduce the amount of resource points each upgrade costs. So I've done 2 of those. The third one will cost me 1,000 to get that. I'm not that fussed. These ones down here increase the, or rather reduce the chance of the new upgrade failing. Now I've only done 1 of those, so yes, yeah, I've reduced the chance of the new high-performance powertrain upgrades failing by 7.5%, which is not a great deal. And these ones that are all in pink are the upgrades that I have fitted. So this one with the pink outline is the next one I can do here. This is a major upgrade, so it costs 1200 resource points, and I have 300, and it will take 4 weeks to develop. But if you look at the powertrain performance comparison, it will improve me quite a bit compared to Sauber, the next team up. I've also got the option of this one here. This is just a regular minor upgrade, so it costs 800. I still can't afford it, but I have the option. And then there's this one. This is the upgrade that I did during the last race to have it ready for this Grand Prix, but the upgrade failed, so I then have to spend another 400 when I get them, so I need another 100, and I can then get this repaired, and then it definitely will be working for the next Grand Prix, which I think is Japan. So yes, now after this major upgrade here, the next one along is an ultimate upgrade. This takes 6 weeks and will cost me 1600, but it will provide quite a significant boost to the engine, which, believe me, the McLaren Honda badly needs. Now not all of these upgrades will just give you power. All of these ones down here are about fuel efficiency. So it will improve your fuel rate. I'm not all that fussed about that, to be honest, so I'm focusing entirely on the engine power. Like I say, I'm in the McLaren Honda, I need it. Then there's the durability, so this improves the wear rate of each of the parts. The engine is made up of 6 parts plus the gearbox. So you have the internal combustion engine, the turbocharger, the energy store, that's the gearbox there, then the MGUH, the MGUK, and the control electronics. And you can upgrade the durability of each of those parts. Thankfully they're not that expensive, they're always 500 no matter which grade you're doing. So yeah, now again the McLaren has, as well as the worst engine in terms of performance, It also has the worst engine in terms of reliability and durability. So this is another area that I've had to be concentrating on. And indeed the durability and powertrain, as I say, are the only areas I've been concentrating on. So we have the chassis upgrades here. So I have all of this lot, and I haven't even fucking looked at them. In fact, if we just go back there, you can see that in terms of chassis, the McLaren Honda's not that bad. I'm currently 6th. In fact, at the start of the season, you start off 4th. So the fact that I haven't done anything to the chassis has allowed Toro Rosso and Force India to move ahead of me there. But yeah, at the start of the season, McLaren was actually 4th. In terms of the chassis there, so the chassis is pretty good. I don't feel the need to upgrade it too much. And then with the aerodynamics, there hasn't really been much change here. Force India are catching us up, but yeah, these are all the same as they were before. Yeah, so I'm ahead of Force India, Haas and Sauber, but that's it. But that's how it's always been. Again, changing the aerodynamics would be useful, but yeah, because the engine is so crap, I'm just focusing on there. Now there are also these core competencies here. Now, if we check these, so you can improve your pit stop efficiency, so your pit stops are done quicker. Now these you don't research as you reach the particular milestone. So for example, this one, the pit stop efficiency, once we've done 25 racing pit stops, I'll reach grade 2 here. With a simultaneous development, complete 50 practice programs. I've done 48, or rather complete 50 practice programs with a perfect score. Then yeah, we'll be able to get this second upgrade, so I will be able to work on 3 upgrades within the same department, which would be handy, but I can never afford to do 3 upgrades. So upgrade speed, this is probably the most useful one of the lot. So because I've done this one, minor upgrades, the time to develop them has been halved. It is 2 weeks, it's now been reduced to 1. If I can get here, I have to complete 10 classic invitational events. But if I get here, then the major upgrades, their time will be halved, so from 4 weekends to 2. And then with this one, these are the ultimate ones, their time will be halved from 6 weekends to 3, which would be quite handy. But I've got to do 20 invitational events and win them. It's not just a case of taking part, you do have to win them in order for me to get that. It's going to be a while. And then there's the first driver bonus. When you are promoted to the first driver, you then get bonuses of extra resource points. So at the moment I'm getting 5% bonus. I have to complete 20 races as the first driver, so at some point during season 2 that will go up, and then I'll get 10% bonus on my resource points. And then after 60 races as the first driver, I will then be getting 15% bonus resource points. They would be very useful indeed, but yeah, I've got a long way to go. So I think the way that the upgrade tree here has been done, the research and development, I think is fucking superb. It is by far the most impressive aspect of the game. I think they've done it extremely well. I cannot see how they could have implemented it better. There are some people who are moaning about it and saying they don't like it and all that. Well, I can't see what they're complaining about. Like I say, I can't see how it could have been done better. Yeah, I do quite like it. So I got no problems with this. This is, as I say, the best aspect of the game. If we carry on here, so this is the research and development that is in progress. As you can see, this is the part that failed. I haven't started to repair it yet, but I will do. And then we have the progress history, which shows the progress bars of each of the teams. As you can see, there is a bit of a gap between us and Sauber. McLaren is the orange bar, so we are right by the bottom, but Sauber are below us. Above us we have Haas. They haven't done a single upgrade since Austria. The rest of the teams, including Haas, they're all so far ahead, got no chance of catching them really. But well, if I was in a different team, then this would probably be more useful, but with McLaren, as long as I'm ahead of Sauber, it's about as good as I can hope for. So on to the next area, which is your engine, well it says vehicle management, but I think of it more as engine management. So here are the 6 parts of the engine. And of course, with Formula 1 in 2017, you have to try and make just 4 engines last the entire season. As you can see, I've already failed. I've got myself a 5th and a 6th load of engine parts. Of course, you get grid penalties for each additional part that you take. So if you, for example, finish or qualify last in a Grand Prix, as I did in Monaco, then you can just grab the lot, because you know you're gonna start last anyway. You may as well grab the free additional engines, which is what I did when I got the 5th. With the 6th one, I qualified on pole position in the Belgian Grand Prix. Completely misunderstood the rules and took a 6th part for everything, without realising that it's a 5-pace grid penalty for each part, and I took 6 parts, so I got 30 grid place penalties there. So yeah, I started that race at the back of the grid and still finished 3rd. Yet more indication that I've chosen a ridiculously easy AI. So as each of the parts wear out, you will start to get more and more faults with them during the race. Now with the internal combustion engine, obviously it will be that you just lose power, you can't go as fast. With the MGUK, this will affect selecting the rich fuel mix, the mix 3, while you're on track. It will just keep failing and you can't select it. It also affects mix 4, but you can only use mix 4 in qualifying anyway. The MGU-H, this is fairly self-explanatory. The more worn it gets, the more the car is going to overheat. So yes, you don't want that failing on you. The energy store will use, obviously, that's using the hybrid part of the engine, the electrical part. So if you use mix 1, the lead mix, during the race or qualifying or whatever, you're going to put more wear and more strain on this. So yeah, that's how that will affect you. The turbocharger, obviously you'll lose power if the turbocharger gets more and more worn. Finally, the control electronics, well, it's all of the electrical systems of the car. Now this wears down quite slowly actually. As you can see, the durability improvement on this is only at 10%. And yeah, well, number 1, that wear is at 72%, number 2 is only at 53%. 3 and 4 have never been used, and yet I'm currently using number 5. So yeah, control electronics are fine. Then you have the gearbox. Now You again can only use a maximum, or you're supposed to only use a maximum of 4 throughout the Grand Prix. And if you change the gearbox before you do 6 races with your gearbox, then again you get a grid pace penalty, a grid place penalty even. So yeah, now I'm racing with automatic gears selected, and this seems to result in almost no wear at all. I've only used 2 gearboxes. The first gearbox, I think that lasted, I think it was 8 or 9 races. And the only reason I'm not still using it is because I decided to change it for some reason or other. So yeah, I wanted to currently using the second one. As you can see, the overall wear is only 11%. So yeah, if you're using automatic gears, gearbox wear is next to fuck all. And finally, the tyre allocation. So these are the tyres that I will have available to me during practice 1, 2 and 3, then qualifying 1, 2 and 3, and then the race. These show, actually they are a bit mixed up, because P1, it looks like it's saying I will only have the soft and the medium available to me. In fact, I also have the super soft available to me as well, so I'm not 100% sure what this is actually showing me. It's just basically saying these are the number of tyres. I can use them whenever I fucking like, more or less. During practice sessions, especially in practice 3, there is a limitation as to which tyres you can use, but it doesn't really matter too much. So next, this is my driver reputation. As you can see, it is maxed out with all of the teams, which means the most interested teams are currently Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull. It's a very rudimentary system. At the end of the season, and occasionally halfway through the season, you will get contract offers from other teams, depending on how well or how much you have impressed them. And the way it decides who is, well, firstly, which ones are, you know, the marker is further along the line. But if, for example, you have a situation like this where they are all exactly the same, then it will choose the 3 best teams. So, you know, you've got Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull. Whereas in fact, every team would be quite eager to sign you up. But yeah, it never gives you more than 3 contracts, so you never have more than 3 options, even though theoretically all 10 teams will want you. You know, the 9 additional teams plus the team that you're already in, they all want you to re-sign for them. So yeah, it's one of those things where it looks like it could be pretty good, but then you realise, yeah, it hasn't been done very well. Then we get the driver standings. So as you can see, I mean, this is pretty ridiculous. And then the constructors yeah, standings. So McLaren are currently 3rd because the 281 points that they have were all scored by me. Fernando, my teammate, is one of only 3 drivers who has not scored a single point yet. Verline and Ericsson, the 2 Sauber drivers, are the other 2. No surprise there. But I can't believe Alonso has never scored a point. He should have scored points by now. You know, he's only ever made it out of qualifying 1 in 2 Grand Prix, so... So moving along, we have our career scores compared to other drivers online. I couldn't give a fucking monkey's toss about this, but it compares your career, your season score, and your score for the particular race weekend. I've currently scored 0 because I haven't done anything on this race weekend. Next one along is showing you your results over the season, and you can check each season individually. So as you can see, this is just ludicrous. With 2 exceptions, I've been on the podium for every single race in a McLaren Honda. And then these are tutorial videos. Not really all that fussed about them. So that's all of your options within the laptop. Now, what I'm going to do now is exit this, because I'm not going to be doing my full season. But in here you have your preferences, so you can choose which assists you're running on and which ones you're not. Then there's your race settings. As you can see, these are all greyed out, so I can't change them. But the top one there, AI driver level, which is on 20. Now 20 is the default level, which I wasn't aware of. So AI driver level of 20 means that the drivers are about on par with a fucking brain dead zombie. You'd have to be utterly moronic to fail to compete with them. In my first ever race, I got fucking 4th. Now, of course, sometimes the circuits are really tough, such as Monaco. I cannot race on Monaco to save my fucking life. You'll notice that I got a DNF there. That is because I started with all my engine parts in the 90% on the wear rate, because I just did not want to race the full race, so I just carried on going until the engine blew, which it finally did on lap 5. So. Now, believe it or not, if you find AI driver level 20 too difficult, you can lower it. So you can go from, as I say, from AI level 20, which like I say is like a brain dead zombie level, and you can take it down all the way down to 0, where you're looking at, John Gage levels then. So in that case, I mean, with AI driver level at John Gage 0, you can put the car in 7th gear, leave it in 7th gear for the entire race, and you'll still win. And you'll probably still lap half the field. So yeah, it's moronically easy. On the screen display, well, yeah, it's all pretty standard stuff. You really can't be surprised by anything there. Now at the bottom here we have this Tobii eye tracking. I haven't got the faintest idea what that is. So anyway, let's quit to the main menu. And we'll finally actually get a race underway. So we'll do it a single Grand Prix. This was a practice run I was doing at Belgium. We'll skip that one. So here you can select either modern F1 cars, or you can use classic F1 cars. They do have quite a selection of classic F1 cars, which is another thing that I really like about the game. However, some of their choices of classic F1 cars are, shall we say, questionable. So we have the 1988 McLaren MP44, which was a fucking decent car. All those cunts who were, constantly moaning about how current Formula 1 car engines are so small because they're 1.6 litre V6 turbos. I don't think it was the 88, but it was certainly the 87. The McLaren which was still winning races, was a 1.5 litre V6 turbo, and it was generating in qualifying mode some 1200 horsepower. It was a staggering fucking engine in a really decent car. So all of those who keep moaning, oh, the engines are too small, fuck off. You haven't got the fucking faintest clue what you're talking about, you piece of shit. So we carry on. We have the 1991 McLaren MP46. This was not a classic car. This was the car that McLaren were using when I think Williams won the World Championship with Nigel Mansell driving. And Williams were quite dominant. The MP46 was not McLaren's finest hour, so why it's in this, I do not know. Now, the 1992 Williams FW14B was a fucking decent car. There was no way that was not going to appear in a classic lineup. However, what the fuck is this doing here? The 1995 Ferrari 412 T2 was a fucking piece of shit. And this was the car that basically cemented Ferrari's position as the also-rans. I mean, at this time, it was between Williams and Benetton, and Benetton's car was nowhere near as good as Williams. The only reason they were winning was because they had Michael Schumacher driving it, and you know he could win in almost anything except this fucking thing. So then we have the 1996 Williams FW18, which is the car that Damon Hill was driving when he won the World Championship. This car was just fucking light years ahead of anything else on the grid, and it's the only reason Damon Hill won the World Championship. There's enough said about that. 1998 McLaren MP413, that was a pretty decent car actually. I can't remember a lot about it. I think Mika Hakkinen was driving that one. Then we have the rather predictable 2002 Ferrari. Yes, it won almost everything. And then this came along and this did win fucking almost anything. So the 2004 Ferrari. You are starting to see on this car some of the aspects of Formula 1 that I really wasn't liking at the time. You see even more of them on here. The 2006 Renault R26, which I think this was the car that Alonso won the World Championship in. But all these fucking bits of wings and that are all being stuck onto the side pods and on the front wing and everything else, and they're getting ridiculous. Then we get to 2007 and the Ferrari has even more. This was the one that Kimi Räikkönen was... he won the World Championship in this. Only just. Again, I wouldn't have considered this a classic. And then all this bullshit sticking on bits of wing and that to all over the car culminated in this fucking monstrosity that is the 2008 McLaren MP423. A fucking hideous fucking heap of shit. But of course, Lewis Hamilton won the World Championship in it, so it's going to be included here. But what a fucking hideous thing. It's just repulsive. So I am not a fan. And then the 2010 Red Bull RB6. Yeah, as much as I hate to say it, this was dominating Formula 1. And of course, this is classed as a classic car, but the first Codemasters Formula 1 game was released in 2010. So this was the car you were driving in that game, and now here it is again in their classic series. So, right, well, I'm going to do one race in each. So I'll do one in modern cars and one in classics, so you can get a comparison. So I'll go in the team then that I've been racing for in my career. So actually no, I won't, because I've already got 2 videos of them up. Okay, well, let's go then for the complete other end I've never driven a Mercedes before in this game. Let's see what it's like. I'm not going to race as that cunt. I'll be Valtteri Bottas. I'm not a Hamilton fan. Now for a car like this, it would be good to give it a fast track. Actually no, it won't. Let's give it, yeah, let's do Sochi. Now I'll do the single session practice. I will skip qualifying altogether, and we'll have the we'll just do 5-lap race. That's all we want, and I'll stick the AI level up to 40, so it's not as ludicrously difficult, or rather not as ludicrously easy as I've got it in my career. Now the weather and time of day I do need to change, so I'll change it to clear, so there'll be no fucking rain for a change. And setting the start time, I'll leave that at random. Right. Right, so during the career, at this point, we would be able to run like various programs to gain resource points and see how well the car is doing. Everything else that we see here is what you would see normally in the any of the sessions, whether it's practice or qualifying or the race. If you're in the garage, this is what you'll see. So we have the overview, which is showing us the weather for the practice session, and then we can change it to show us what it will be for, well, the next session, which in this thing is the is the race. Timings is self-explanatory. Live TV feed, if there are any cars out there, we can watch them. So we have Massa out, and he is the only car that is out.
Okay, let's talk
or
about
we
this
can
track.
end the session.
Turn 3 is the only...
Yeah, I'm not listening to him. Okay, first thing I want to do then is check my car setup. I will want to reduce the aerodynamics a bit. Actually a bit more than that, I'll take it down to 2. But here you can change just about every aspect of the car you like. But I don't bother with that. Probably why I'm crap even against just, you know, shitty fucking 40 rated AI. Anyway, let's go to the track then. Drive out. You can select it to do a flying lap, and it will just start you on the approach to the start-finish line. But I like to do the drive out there. Now while we are here, you'll notice in the bottom right all of your info. If you press the B button on here, you get the MFD, the multi-function display. Now trying to explain all this lot while I'm still on the move is going to be a fucking task in itself. So you can see at the top there I can change the fuel mix. I'm going to change it down to lean for the moment. So I'm going relatively slow. I don't want to catch up with any cars while I'm on my outlap. But you can change that to each of the, well in practice only 3 fuel settings. Mix 1, which is lean, which is what I'm in. Mix 2 is standard. Mix 3 is rich. And then during qualifying you've got mix 4, which is max. You can also change, as you can see, the front brake bias, the differential, and whether wing repair damage, what level of damage to the wings you need to sustain before the pits will call you in to get it repaired. Now I have it set on auto and I never bother changing it. We're now in the DRS zone. So because I've got it on auto, I leave it up to the pit walls to decide. That was a fuck up there. As you can see, when you take a hit, it will show you the damage done. It looks like I got away with that. So that's what it shows you on that window. Now on this next window, that's the one we've just seen, showing you like the tyre wear. It also shows you the temperatures. You can see the tyres are fine, brakes are fine, engine's fine. Actually, to tell a lie, this is the temperature one. So brake temperatures are a bit cold at the moment. When you see them going up as I use them, let's bring them up again. Gets to this braking area. Yeah, you can see the brake temperatures really going up there. Tyre temperatures are fine, engine temperature is fine. Then we go into the engine wear. It shows us the amount of wear that each of the engine components are going through. You notice the greyed out exclamation mark just to the side there. If a part is in really bad condition, that will be flashing, tell you basically, well actually by the time that's flashing there's not much you can do, your engine is going to blow whether you fucking like it or not. And then there's just the minimise the information in this panel here. So this is just saying that I've got 9 laps of fuel left and I'm in fuel mix 1. So I will now try and change, but yeah, trying to change it, anything like that while you're also racing, yeah, it's not easy. But that said, I do actually quite like it. The weird thing is, it's one of the paradoxes with this. I hate it in Formula 1. I hate the fact that they're constantly, you know, going around having a...
Take it easy on the car. We can't sustain this level of damage.
I hate that they're constantly, you know, going around having to manage like their tyre wear and their fuel consumption and all this bollocks. But I like it in the game. So if I go now up to the maximum, so we're now on rich fuel mix. Let's see if we can do a decent flying lap. Now that yellow bar is telling us we're approaching the DRS zone, and then you get that beep telling us that we can use DRS. So we activate that when we can. There are 2 DRS zones in the Sochi circuit, so you'll see it appear again in a moment. Took that a bit wide. I think it's just after this turn here. Oh, fuck, you took that very wide as well. Okay, maybe it's after this turn. No, it's not. Oh, maybe it is. No, no. I'm not overly familiar with the Sochi track. Here we go. Right. There we go. So now we can use it. Now this is not the only thing that you can do with the multi-function display. You can also issue instructions to your pit crew, and you can do this in one of 2 ways. You can either hold down or press the left button, and then you can select any of those options that come up there.
The time last lap was a 1:47.7.
So I did a lot better, but I'm still not that great. Mind you, I am only on soft tyres, not ultra soft like everyone else seems to be on. So anyway, yes, you press the left mouse button and you get all of these.
Got that confirmed.
Or, if you hold the mouse button down, not the mouse button, hold down that left button, you can actually speak the command. Which sounds like a great idea. Trouble is, it works as well as all other voice recognition software and voice recognition devices, i.e. it's shit. So, it would be great if it worked, but it hardly ever does, so I have to stick with using the button. But the instruction they've basically been given there, because I held the button down but didn't say anything of any importance, I basically told him to shut the fuck up, which means he's now not going to bother keep telling me information that I really don't need to know. But it only lasts for as long as I'm out on track here. Once I go back into the pits, it will reset, and then next time I come out, it'll be telling me a load more fucking guff again. Now I'm putting quite a lot of strain on the engine here because I'm doing lap after lap after lap. Well, I've done 2, which the car stuck permanently in mix 3 on the fuel, which is not going to do my fuel consumption any favours, and it doesn't do the
That last lap moves you up to P2.
parts of the engine any favours either. Perez is not going to get out the fucking way for love nor money, is he? He's going to have to now. I have to say, this car does certainly feel faster than the McLaren, but the engine feels as rough as the McLaren's one does. I thought the McLaren engine felt really fucking rough and yeah, not all that good. But I've also tried the Renault car, and I really liked the engine in the Renault. It felt really smooth, it certainly sounded really smooth, and yeah, I was impressed, to say the least. So much so that I was considering changing team to Renault if I am offered a Renault contract. If I'm not, and I'm offered either, you know, Red Bull or Ferrari or Mercedes, then I will stick with McLaren. So now Raikkonen's gone faster, but he's using super soft tyres. Again, I'm using the hardest compound available here.
There's 4 laps of fuel remaining.
There you go, so I've just done the fastest lap of the practice session. Palmer is going to be a cunt and a half, and he's just not going to let me past. But I can outbrake him by quite a distance. Because I ran so much of that straight on the fucking grass, this time is well down. So I will change the engine down to lean mix, and I will come in at the end of this lap. So during a practice session in the career, you can do things like track acclimatization to get used to the layout and get practice on hitting all of the apexes of the corners. You can then do a race simulation. You need to hit a target that the team set and try and set a pace that will equal or better there. Then there's the qualifying session, which is done in exactly the same way. They will set you a qualifying target, you try to match it or better still beat it. Then there's a fuel saving fuel management session. You try to do a lap using as little fuel as possible, which means you have to lift and coast in various areas. I was supposed to come into the pits then, wasn't I? Oh, fuck it, I'll come into the pits this way. So yes, the fuel saving involves having a lift and coast in the right spots so you can save.
Repairing the damage to the car. So far, our fastest lap is a 1:43.3.
Save the most fuel. And then there's also a tyre wear session where again you have to try and save the tyres. That is the one that I have the most difficulty with. I'm really not much good at sorting the tyres out. I race how I think Formula 1 should be raced, which is I go flat out from start to finish. I don't care about saving fuel, I don't care about saving the tyres, just fucking race like they're supposed to. So what I think I will do is change my tyres, but I'm trying to see if it will let me do that. Which it won't. Let's see if I can do it in the setup. Yes, here we go. Right, so tyre select. Right, let's use the Ultra Softs. Let's see what difference this will make. How much time do I have left? Plenty, 13 minutes. Right.
Okay, just want to remind you to keep an eye on your tyre usage. We have to give 2 sets back at the end of this session, so they'll be unavailable for the rest of the weekend.
Fucking blah.
We'll hand over the 2 most worn
Your
sets, so don't
pit
ruin
crew
tyres
have a
and
habit
to
of
use later.
constantly fucking telling you info which,
All complete.
you know, if this was actual Formula 1, the driver would be saying, you know, do you think I'm a fucking pleb or something? I know all of this shit. Alright. So we'll do the outlap in mix 1, which I always do. So I'm currently second in the currently second place in this session, so I'm not doing too badly. So as you can see, well, at least I hope you can see, the game actually plays quite well, and it is an enjoyable game to play. And that's why I say I think it is a good game. I'm not going to sit here and say no, the game's a fucking pile of shit. It's not. But the reason why I don't consider it to be great is because of a number of aspects that thankfully I have not encountered yet, because I've set it so that I won't. Oh, fuck it, I made a right bollocks up of that. Looks like I got away with it though. Good job this is only an outlet. So old Danny Ricciardo there in front of us. See if I can pass him on the start-finish straight, or better still on the way here. Okay, I've got a warning but not a penalty yet, so I don't care about that, that'll do. Alright, let's see how we do with this time lap then. Looks like I've got another car up ahead. I quite fancy the idea of taking a break so I can go out there and shoot those fucking cunts out there. So 6/10 up on the just in the first sector alone. Now, one thing I will say, if you are interested in getting this game and you're interested in putting videos of this game up, be ready to have a load of fucking annoying comments from people saying, you're using assists, you got to turn them off. Point 1. No, I don't have to turn them off. I'll play the game the way I fucking want to, if it's alright with you. And point number 2, an awful lot of the people who make posts like that and will say that, you know, the AI setting is too low and all this guff, you can bet your fucking life they are using the settings that they're moaning at you for using. I watched quite a few videos by Tiamat Marduk, who is an Australian who's quite a fanatic of these Formula 1 games. And he is fucking unbelievably good at them. I mean, he uses no assist of any kind, and he had the AI level on 107. The maximum it can be is 110. And he had an absolute fucking avalanche of comments from people saying, oh, you've got the AI level too low, you've got to set it to 110. Now, I bet you anything you fucking like, not one of those people who said that have their AI setting at anything like 110. They probably have it set at like 50 at the most. So yeah, with this game, especially if you are going to put YouTube videos up, you are going to get an awful lot of people who moan about the way that you decide to play your game. Yeah, you really don't need me to tell you what I think of anyone doing that. So that was a bit of a shit lap, that one. But then I was overtaking Alonso. So right, let's see if I can actually remember to come into the pits at the end of this lap here, especially as my delta is down again. So since I'm coming in, I might as well change down to mix 1 again. I don't always just skip between 3 and 1. During the race, the vast majority of it I use in mix 2. Oh, fuck it. I don't know, it's the wrong part of the circuit. I was going to say I've forgotten to come into the pits again. Now, the worst aspect of having to review this, or not having to, but choosing to review this game, is the fact that I've got to watch more or less the entire fucking playback again, just to make sure I haven't put something in here that fucking Formula 1 International will come along and say, oh, that's copyrighted, right, this video's blocked. Fucking cunts. And oh, fucking hell, I nearly crossed over that line. If I did, that would have been another warning or another penalty, or a penalty. I haven't had a penalty yet. As you can see, they couldn't have made this any fucking slower and long-winded if they tried. It seems they really are proud of this animation sequence here, and they want to make sure that you see it as often as you can. Whenever the Codemasters are proud of something they've done, they always make sure that you see it a lot. That's also going to be covered. So anyway.
Fastest lap is a 1:40.7.
Right, well anyway, let's accelerate the time and get out of this fucking practice session. I mean, I'm 2.4 seconds ahead of second place, so this 40%, or this level 40
practice session there then. Let's remind ourselves of the top 3, who are Bottas, Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. That concludes an interesting practice session. Let's hope for more excitement as the weekend unfolds.
Yeah, so yeah, 40 or 2.4 seconds ahead of second place. So yeah, having this AI at 40 is still ludicrously easy. Well, it certainly is when you're in a Mercedes. Anyway, there's no qualifying, so it goes straight to the race. I've no idea where it's going to put us, but the race is only 5 laps, so you know. Right, now as I've been trying to... Fucking hell!
So the pack will be bunched up. Take care.
Right, now as I've been trying to say, but it keeps coming up with fucking parts that I have to edit out because of fucking copyright and all this bollocks. I've forgotten what I was going to fucking say now. Let's just get it right. So going to the car setup. Don't have to do anything there. Well, it looks like there's no there's no race strategy, presumably because it's only 5 laps, so it don't fucking matter. Right, so let's just start the race then. Alright, now usually I will start on lean to get myself the traction off the line, and then I put it up into rich to try and get some speed. So we breezed past Vettel.
Well done, mate. Nice start.
And breezed past Hamilton. So we're now in the lead. This is ludicrously fucking easy. I've got to increase the AI again. You can clearly see there the fact that how it looks when you're driving with an Xbox 360 controller and not with a not with a steering wheel. Nevertheless, as I've already said, I'm not fucking shelling out 200 quid for a fucking steering wheel. Now, I cannot stay in rich mix for very long because I do not have much additional fuel. So, I shall go down to standard now, so we're in the mix 2. .142 from standing start. Oh, thought I cut that corner. I think I'm fucking far ahead of everyone else, am I? It's nearest damn it 4.6 seconds ahead of Hamilton, and this is only lap 2. Yeah, I've got to raise the AI. I mean, okay, I may be in the best car, but fuck me, Hamilton's supposed to be in the same car as me. I shouldn't be like, you know.
That was the fastest lap of the race. Keep this up.
I think I'm going to be over 5 seconds, 4.9 seconds ahead of my teammate in the same car after 2 laps. So maybe if I stick the AI up to 80, it might be at least approaching realistic. Now in the career mode, I only came second in this race because after I made my one and only pit stop, 2 laps later it started raining, and I was one of a large number of racers who were caught out by it. We had to come in for intermediates. So the only people who were doing okay, I really fucked that up, were those who hadn't stopped yet. And consequently the race was won by fucking Roman Grosjean in a Haas. I do. It's no more or less ridiculous than the fact that I've won 7 races in a fucking McLaren Honda. 6.7 seconds after 3 laps.
7 seconds.
So I'm pulling away at over 2.2 seconds a lap. It's fucking stupid. I mean, I know why they allow you to set the AI that low. I mean, if you are completely new to the F1 games, what have you. But to be honest, they do have the chance to set it so low that, you know, there are fucking blind paraplegics who can win races when you have the AI set to 0. John Gage will probably struggle a bit. Right, so we are about to start the final lap. Good job I did only select 5.
Great work. That's a new fastest lap for the race.
And I could even set it into rich mix now if I wanted to. There you are. Nearly 10.2 seconds ahead. Fucking laughable. Now, I must admit, there is something I have done for this review that I don't normally do, which is that I've made some notes about things that I mustn't forget to point out. And once I finish this lap, I'll give you an indication. Looks like DRS was disabled for the entire race. I can't imagine anyone ever really needing to use it in this. Not a good approach to that corner, but I somehow got away with it. So then, check the flag as we take the final corner, and there we go, we've won the Russian Grand Prix.
Yes, you've
So,
done it. Well done.
so these are the notes that I made. You'll notice there that box. That's all of the good points that I need to point out. Everything else is negative points.
Another great race. So, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
Well, I think the track conditions just really suited their car today. Wind, track temperature, you name it. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature. So the more easily you can keep them there, the better your race tends to go. And that's exactly what happened. Their car just looks so comfortable out there.
Nothing he said had any relevance to what I was doing in that race.
The top three out onto the podium.
Now, seeing as they are there, the voiceovers there, sort of like the commentary, is provided by two of the Sky F1 commentary team.
Now then, Anthony Davidson, who was your driver of the day?
Well, Jolyon Palmer did a great job coming through the field today, so my vote goes to him.
That's it for today's
Right,
Grand
I
Prix.
started third and won, and he'll give a driver of the day to Jolyon Palmer, who started 18th and finished 13th. What a fucking load of bollocks! Ocon started 10th and finished 5th, but no, we'll give it to Palmer. Fucking yeah. Anyway, those two people you heard there. Alright, so you have David Croft and Anthony Davidson. They're two the Sky F1 commentary team. David Croft is the main commentator during the actual race. Anthony Davidson is just one of the many people they have on the sides giving their expert opinion. Now, Formula 1 isn't the main sport that David Croft commentates on. He is actually a darts commentator. More specifically, he is a shit darts commentator. He has just come up with so many fucking absolutely cringing, the amount of bollocks he talks during his darts commentary is unbelievable. So if he's incapable of doing a half decent job at commentating on darts, you can just imagine what he's like commentating on this. He's shit. And then they have Anthony Davidson as their expert on the side. Anthony Davidson has taken part in 23 Grand Prix. The first two were as a standing driver. All of his, most of his experience in Formula 1 is as a test driver. So he knows not a great deal about a lot of things that he talks about in this game and on Sky F1. The only time he raced a full season was when he raced for that epitome of the very pinnacle of Formula 1 engineering that was the Super Aguri team. He raced a full season with them. The following season he raced 4 races, but that's because the Super Aguri team then went bankrupt. So yeah, so Anthony Davidson doesn't know fuck all about winning. He doesn't know fuck all about getting pole position. He doesn't know what it's like. Doesn't know how it feels, but he'll constantly talk about it like he does. During his entire Formula 1 career, he has got 0 wins, 0 podiums, 0 pole positions, 0 points, which means that in terms of his success in Formula 1, Anthony Davidson is as good as I am. Or even is as good as any of you who are watching this. So I have no interest whatsoever in anything that fucking talentless cunt has to say. And I wish that fucking Codemasters would stop employing him to be the voice of Formula 1, the expert. Surely they can get someone better than him. And you think about it, Julian Palmer here. He is a total fucking nobody in Formula 1, but he has been far more successful than Anthony Davidson ever was. Go back another couple of seasons, you've got Max Chilton, a total fuck all nothing of a Formula 1 driver, and yet he raced in more Grand Prix than Anthony Davidson does, so his opinion is worth more than Anthony Davidson's. And yet no one would ask Julian Palmer or fucking Max Chilton their opinion on a race because it has no fucking value at all. So why have we got to have Anthony Davidson's opinion rammed down our throats when none of us give a fucking toss what he thinks? Yes. Anyway, race over, so now, do you really want to see the classic cars racing? Yeah, you fucking do, don't you? Alright, okay. Right, so we'll go to classic F1 cars then. Now, what car do I choose? I haven't got a clue. It actually races it like the two different classes. You have the 20th century cars in class 1 and the 21st century cars as class 2. But like, say, Le Mans, they all race together anyway. So you have an overall result, then you have a class 1 result and a class 2 result. So I will race in... well, it certainly won't be that fucking hideous MP423. Fuck it, I'll race in 1988 MP44. And let's... Right, now I do want a nice fast track. Canada, yeah. Right, so we'll have, yeah, multi-class, single session. I do 3-lap race because it's fucking... takes too long otherwise. Actually, right, I'll leave dynamic weather on. We'll see what happens with that. Right. So, advance.
Here we are, live in Montreal at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, where the teams are making final preparations before today's practice session gets underway.
Right, so more cut out there. So, right, let's go to the setup, because you do not need much wing on this circuit at all. In fact, I'll take it down to 1. That's the settings I usually have for Monza, but I think I can get away with it for this one as well. So, let's have a look. Now, all of these names, I don't recognise any of them. They may be genuine ones.
Right, I'll get these changes made.
No idea. Anyway, let's go to track. We shall drive out.
Okay, the track is green right now, so take a few laps to get the tyres up to temperature. Try and feel your way around.
Now, for reasons that I can't pretend to understand, when you're racing in classic cars, you still have all of this multifunctional display options available to you, and you really shouldn't. So I'll leave them off. I won't touch them. I'll treat it as, you know, an actual proper classic car. You can certainly hear the old turbo going away behind me here, because this car was still using a turbo. Made a right bollocks up at that chicane. Alright, something else I've forgotten to point out. You can change the views in the cars. So, have that one, that one, that one, that one, that one there, or in the cockpit. Or the default view, which is the one that I prefer. Now there's one aspect that I don't like about the classic car racing. Although it's not an aspect that is in this game. Because when you have like classic car racing, either in a video game or in, you know, they show actual races on YouTube or repeat them on the telly, you always get a sizable number of fucking arseholes who will straight away say, oh, the engine sound was so much better than the cars nowadays sound like shit. And they are probably the most hateful thing in Formula 1 today. If you are one of those people, then firstly, don't say that the engine sounds are shit now and they were much better then, because if you do, I will block you. And if you think I'm joking, try it and see what happens. Because that is how much I fucking hate reading that fucking bullshit comment. But to those people, I say this: why do you watch Formula 1? Do you watch it because you want to see great driving and you want to see, you know, really fast cars driving around the circuit at the hands of extremely talented drivers? If the answer is yes, then why the fucking hell does it matter what the fucking cars sound like? Who fucking cares? Apart from you. Because what you're actually giving, you know, the impression you give is that you actually watch Formula 1 to listen to the engine noise. Because that's all you ever fucking bang on about. So if the engine sound is that fucking important, well, why don't you download an MP3 of, you know, a 2008 spec car or whatever, and just play that over and over, because that's all you're watching F1 for. So with that MP3 you can listen to it whenever you like, and then you can leave watching Formula 1 to people who actually want to see good drivers and you know, these great cars being driven to the max. And we don't care what the fucking engine sounds like, as long as it's actually, you know, got some power behind it. Which modern F1 engines certainly have. I feel like I'm barely moving in this thing. Well, that was my best lap, but I'm still only in third place. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I will use the old, see if this makes a difference. Wait till we're on a nice fast, nice longish straight. I tried to change it there. There we go. Right, so we're into mix 3. Let's see what this does. Fag has long since gone out. I need to design a Formula 1 car that will allow you to have your fag while you're racing. Someone get on with that one. I only did half a lap with Mix 3, but...
That lap time puts you into P4, 4th place.
Alright, let's see how a full lap like this goes. That was terrible fucking around that corner. Oh, I thought I'd cut that corner. And that one. I'm fucking doing terribly. This car handles totally different to any of the modern ones. My time is well down, but that's because this is such a shitty lap by me. I'm fucking driving it like a complete fucking prick. This lap's going to be too slow, so I'm going to go into the pits. One thing I do like about the classic era, especially this particular car, is that basically your steering wheel, what that does is if you turn it, the car goes in the direction you turn it, as opposed to the steering wheels of modern F1 cars, which are basically, well, modern F1 cars are basically computers on wheels. So, right, what I'm actually going to do is quit, because the more I play the classic cars, the more I get pissed off by those cunts who keep banging on about the engine noise. So anyway, you've got an idea there of how F1 2017 plays. Now, like I say, I do think the game is good. It's a good game to play, and I do enjoy playing it. And let's face it, I've done 14 races, so you know, if I hated the game and I thought it was a pile of shit, I wouldn't have raced 14 races. But it does have an awful lot of issues to deal with. So let's cover the good aspects to it already. And I have really covered them all in some depth already. So like I say, it's great to play. It's responsive to the controls. The controls are really good. The MFD can be a bit cumbersome if you're, you know, you've got to keep your eye on the fucking road, obviously, but you also need to know what you're selecting. But to be honest, I can't see any other way of how they could have done it. Using voice recognition for, you know, the pit lane commands is a novel idea, but like all voice recognition software, it's shit. It doesn't work properly, so you are better off just having to try and select it using the controller. So yeah, it is good to play, and you know, doing the actual races is enjoyable. I like it. I think the upgrade, you know, the research and development tree is superb. I think it's absolutely fantastic the way they've done that. It is just by far the best implementation in the 8 years that Codemasters have been doing this. Beforehand, it was always a case of, you know, suddenly the engineer will say to you, "Oh, we're testing out a new part here. Go and do blah blah blah, and we'll see if it works." But now you can choose what is being upgraded, what part of what aspect is being upgraded. It's just really well done. I cannot fault it. It is frustrating when the new upgrade part fails, but let's face it, that does happen in Formula 1, so there you go. The other good area is the inclusion of classic cars. So as much as, you know, it annoys me when it just keeps reminding me of these wankers who keep going on about the engine sound, it does give more to the game. You've got, you know, you've basically got two games here. You can play either classic F1 or, you know, the 2017 season. Some of the cars, as I've already shown, that are in the classic list are questionable to say the least. I mean, a 1995 Ferrari, fucking what? And that is about it for the good points. So let's get on to the negative points. Well, I've already gone on about David Croft and Anthony Davidson, so I don't need to cover that again. Now, some of the aspects that I hate about this game are unavoidable. Because they've got the podium ceremony and the champagne bit, one part of Formula 1 that I absolutely detest, they had no choice. It had to appear in there. I don't know whose idea it was, but Formula 1's insistence of playing the fucking Toreador song from Carmen when they're doing the champagne bit, which I don't like anyway, it just seems so fucking juvenile. But having that playing in the background while it's going on just makes it even more fucking juvenile. I utterly detest it, and yet they've included it in this. Cheers. So, I mean, it's not a big deal, but yeah, it doesn't stop the fact that, you know, it doesn't change the fact that it's fucking irritating. The other ones, I'm sure you'll have noticed them yourself by now. You haven't seen too many of them, and believe me, you have no idea how grateful you are. The faces of the other drivers, the way they have been rendered in this game, they look fucking grotesque. They are utterly fucking hideous. Most of them look barely human. Some of them are just... Lance Stroll really does look like a fucking Neanderthal in this. Fernando Alonso looks like he comes from the region of Spain called Bangladesh. He's far too dark. Lewis Hamilton, when he's got his crash helmets on and you only see his eyes, he looks like he's from China. When oh fuck it, who's the cunt who's just got sacked? Daniel Kvyat. When he blinks, his eyes still stick out through his eyelids. It just looks fucking freaky. Max Verstappen, he looks like his head has been squashed in a vice and then someone's come along and stretched it out like this. Although it could be argued that he looks like that in real life. They just all look awful. There is, however, one exception, but it's an exception for a rather fucking horrific reason. You have an agent, and I forget her name. Yeah, I can't remember her name. Anyway, it's a woman, and in this, okay, she still doesn't look great. She looks sort of human, which certainly makes her look on the outside better than any of the racing drivers. And then you see the actress they've based her on, who is the person who's provided the voice, which is now quite a common practice in gaming. I have to say, she looks fucking horrendous. And you think, yeah, okay, actually with her rendition in this game actually looks better than she does in real life. Oh my god. Yeah, that is not good. So yeah, so the faces all look fucking horrendous, and they do genuinely look laughable. No. Now, but let's get on to the really serious issues that the game has. First of all, the weather. Now, this is not the first time that this has happened. In my career, we just bring it up. In my career then, I've done 14 races. With the exception of the first race in Australia and then the race in Bahrain, every other race, so 12 other races, there has always been at least one session that has been affected by rain. Without fail. So China, Russia, Spain, Monaco, Canada, Azerbaijan, Austria, Britain, Hungary, Belgium, Italy and Singapore. Every single one, there was at least one session where, say, the thing was rain affected. When did you last see a Formula 1 season that was like that? In fact, I have seen more rain affected sessions in this incomplete first season than I have seen in the last 10 years, if not more, of watching Formula 1 on television. It is fucking ridiculous. And like I say, this is not the first time this has happened. When Formula 1 2012 was first released, before they issued the first patch, that did the same. Now with that one, there were 3 sessions. You had the practice, the qualifying and the race. And in that one, apart from again the first race in Australia where it was only one session was affected by rain, all of the other races before the patch came along, at least 2 sessions were so badly affected by rain that you had to use full wets for the entire duration of that session, without exception. So yes, that means that I had to do qualifying and the entire race of the Bahrain Grand Prix with full wet weather tyres. So yeah, with 2012 it was fucking ridiculous, but with this it is quite a close second. There is not much in it. So the amount of rain is ridiculously overdone. And the reason that it was so overdone with F1 2012 is because Codemasters were so proud of it, they wanted everyone to see it and all this. With this, they really have got nothing to be proud of, and they really should not want too many people seeing it. Firstly, no matter how hard the rain is, there are never any puddles anywhere on the circuit. You cannot see any standing water. You may occasionally aquaplane, but you can't see why, because there were no puddles that you went through. But worse than that is when the rain either eases up and becomes just lighter, or if it stops altogether. When it eases up, the very second that the rain eases up, bang! You can now use intermediate tyres and go out straight away. The track is perfect. But it gets worse, because it also does that same thing when it comes to the rain stopping altogether. Whether it's heavy rain or light rain, as soon as that final drop of rain has hit the tarmac and the rain has stopped, bang! You can go out on dry weather tyres, no matter what the compound is, and the track is bone dry, ready for you to use. As soon as you see it, you wouldn't have thought there'd been any rain in the area for the past sort of 2 weeks, let alone 2 seconds ago. So the rain is just absolute shite, and Codemasters are rather taking the piss by having it appearing so often, because all they're doing is just constantly making sure you are aware of how shit it's been implemented. Now that is actually the biggest annoyance for me. There are a lot of other games, or not a lot of other aspects of this game that do annoy me, but that is the one that annoys me the most. But the next one is to do with the actual racing. If you are out on track, and whether it's any of the free practice sessions or any of the qualifying sessions, you're out on track and you get the message that says session has ended, whether it's qualifying or the practice. And of course it uses the full F1 rules, so you can finish the lap you are on. But if the lap you're on is shit, or it was an in lap anyway, and you think, oh, I'll come into the pits at the end of this one regardless. So you do that. You've been told that the session is over. So the instant that anyone crosses the line, that's their session done. But you go into the pits, you're taken into the garage, the monitor is brought down, and you'll see that there are still some 2 minutes left. But not for you. Only for the computer controlled cars. You can't go out because you've been told the session is over. And that happens whether you have passed, whether the session ends just a thousandth of a second after you've crossed the line. You can still go around and do your lap, but if you come into the pits, the computer controlled cars will all still get the amount of time it's taken you to finish your lap and come into the pits, plus an extra 2 minutes. So they get a lot of extra practice time and qualifying time that you can't use. Now you may think that, oh well, that can't change too much, especially with the AI levels that I'm fucking running. But yes, it can. Because the problems with the sessions ending don't stop there. See if I can find a way of wording this. If you are in the pits and you're watching, because I showed you there, you can watch the other cars going around, and you can clearly see that the time will run out while you are while the computer control cars are still doing their lap. Whether it's usually, this will be when it's qualifying. This is when it really does affect things. Now, because you're in the pit lane and you're not out on track when the session ends, the session does actually end when the timer reaches 0. But of course, the cars that are out on track, they can finish their lap. That's in the rules. Because you don't see them finishing the lap, because the session is ended and it's now loading the next part of the game, which is showing you the times and the positions. And you notice that those cars that were out on track and hadn't yet finished their lap have suddenly gone about the speed of a fucking fighter jet with the same sort of levels of manoeuvrability, and their times have skyrocketed up. And this was really drilled home to me in one race. I wish I could remember which one it was, but it was again another rain affected one. Now, I'd seen on the weather that this was qualifying 1. I'd seen on the weather that there was rain coming in about 5 or 10 minutes. So I thought, right, I'll go out straight away, get my laps in on dry weather tyres. Which I did. And stupidly, only about 6 or 7 cars actually did that, including me. So the other, 13, 14 cars were all still in the garage, and then the rain started. So of course they had to go out on intermediate tyres. Now, one of those cars that had done a dry lap was Alonso. And like I say, he's only ever got out of qualifying 1 twice. This was not one of those occasions, but he was obviously in the top 6 or 7 because he'd done a lap in the dry. And so I was watching these cars going round. Alonso was 1, and his time was way off his original pace. The other one that I was watching was Vettel. who his car was way off. Actually, I forgot a detail. They were out there on their dry tyres when the rain started, so it completely ruined their laps. When they eventually crossed the line, because they were determined to finish, their lap times were something like 15, 16, 17 seconds behind mine. So clearly rain affected. So they went out on their intermediates. Now the fact that they're on intermediate tyres on a wet track means that they are not going to compare to the faster times that were set in the dry. So I was watching it and I noticed there was only about 20 seconds to go. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to see the full their full qualifying lap. When Vettel got past Sector 1, he was already 6 seconds behind my time. When Alonso went past, he was not only behind my time, he was obviously, I think it was something like 3 or 4 seconds behind his own time that he had set before, and he's normally very slow anyway. Then the time ran out, so it then loaded up the screen showing you the positions and their times. Suddenly Vettel was in second place, having done a time that was about half a second behind me on intermediate tyres, when he was already 6 seconds behind my time at just the first sector, and my time was done on ultra soft tyres on a dry track. Alonso, his time was the best time he had posted, despite the fact that his first sector time was, say, slower than his own. It must have been into double figures as to how much slower he was than me, but it was his best lap. It's just absolute bullshit. And ever since I saw that, I suddenly realised it was happening at every race. And everyone who was out on track when the timer ran out, their times suddenly got massively elevated as they had done some unbelievably fast time, which of course we hadn't seen. So that's just bullshit. And that is another aspect that's ruining the game. The game may be fun to play, you actually sit there and control the car and actually playing it, but when you've got all that shit to deal with as well, it just ruins the fucking thing. Then there is the safety car. Now, to say this hasn't been very well implemented is a masterpiece of understatement. Well, let's first of all start with the virtual safety car, because this only has one problem. Because of course with the virtual safety car, everybody just has to slow down and maintain a regular pace and all that, but you don't have to all sort of like, queue up behind each other. Or at least that's what you're supposed to do. In fact, all of the AI drivers continue going at full pelt. If you try and do that, you get a warning. Now, as you know, under virtual safety car, you're not allowed to overtake. But the AI cars will still overtake you. But if you overtake them to take back your own position, you are told that you have to hand the position back. If you don't, you get a penalty. If you keep on doing it, you end up getting black flagged. So that's fucking bollocks. And then when the actual safety car itself is deployed, this really does affect you if you're in the lead. It doesn't matter where you are on track. You are only given really a certain amount of time to catch up to the safety car, which will always stand and wait at the pit lane exit. It waits for the lead car to come along. If that's you, then... So you've got to absolutely tear around, basically at full racing speed, to catch up to it. But all the time you're doing that, you're being told by your engineer that you're going too fast and you could pick up a penalty or be disqualified. And yet all of your info is telling you that what you're doing is fine. And in fact it turns out that you are okay with doing that. You can just race around until you catch up with the safety car, which is a good job, because after about, I think it's 30 seconds, if you haven't caught up with a safety car, you're then given a timer. If you haven't caught up with it by the time that timer expires, then again you're facing either a penalty or a disqualification. So if you have only just sort of crossed the start-finish line, for example, and then you've only just passed the pit lane exit, and then the safety car is deployed, you've basically got to do an entire lap and hope like fuck that you can get round there fast enough before that timer appears and then runs out. There have also been plenty of issues that other players have had where the safety car just seems to stop dead and everyone plows into the back of it. I've never had that issue yet. I think that got fixed in patch 1.7, which is now the patch we're on. So, but yeah, it just means that there are so many significant issues with the game that really ruin it. And I say the rain frequency could easily be addressed by Codemasters, not least because they did so with F1 2012, so they can do it again with F1 2017. They can also easily fix the instantaneous drying and the instantaneous, soaking of the track. They've just got to delay it by, a lap or two. Surely it's not that difficult. They can also fix the safety car issues. They can also easily fix the virtual safety car issues. So most of these issues can be sorted out, I would imagine, no problem. These are all of the major issues, like the cosmetic things, like how hideous all of the people look, and using David Croft and Anthony Davidson. There's nothing they can do about that. Okay, they're going to stay, but those major issues that are really affecting the game and really spoiling it, they can be addressed. The question is, will they? And I suspect the answer is no, because we've had 7 patches now and they're all still in it. And of course, we know that Codemasters are going to be doing a Formula 1 2018 game. So it's a case of, well, how long are they going to continue supporting this before they eventually dump it and start work on 2018, which is what they've done with all their other games. Once they start work on, the successor, the current release just gets completely ignored. So I suspect that many, if not all, of these major issues will never be addressed, and they're going to stay in the game forever, ruining it. It's an enjoyable game to play. It's actually driving the car is great, but so many aspects of actually racing it, and the way that the other cars perform, especially when you can't actually see them, it's just ruining the whole thing. As is the frequency with the rain, and the way that it affects the track, and the instantaneous way that those changes just seem to suddenly disappear. And they do really genuinely turn what would have been, if it didn't have it didn't have those major issues, this would be a game that it would be an absolute must-buy game for anyone who likes racing games. And it would have got 9.5 out of 10. It may have even got a 10 out of 10. But because those issues are there, they are really badly hampering it. So I score this game 7 out of 10. And I think I'm being fairly generous giving it 7 out of 10. Those issues need to be addressed, and need to be addressed fast. But I very much doubt they'll be addressed at all. So, that is F1 2017 from Codemasters. A game that could have and should have scored a 10 out of 10 and it gets 7 out of 10 because of Codemasters laxity. This is one long old fucking review which I now have to edit to get rid of all of the fucking copyright claimed shit. So yeah, I can't wait to do that. So that brings this review to an end, and we'll see you at the next one, whenever that will be. Actually, I know it won't be that far away, because there's another 2017 release, believe it or not, which I'll be covering fairly soon.